Well, hey there, how's everybody doing? Today I want to talk a little bit about the Nikon Series E 100mm f2.8. So in 1979, Nikon introduced a budget series of lenses along with the EM 35mm SLR in an effort to break into the budget market. Up until this point, Nikon was strictly a professionals brand. Professionals were pretty much the only people who shot Nikon. Nikon felt they were missing out on the consumer market, so they decided to go open up a budget line. And they did that with the EM camera. And they also introduced a series of lenses, non-Nikkor. These are not branded as Nikkors. These are not Nikkor lenses. These are Nikon Series E lenses, not Nikkors. So they introduced a budget line called Series E, which consisted of 5 prime lenses and either 1 or 2 zooms, but I don't collect zooms, so it's not something I pay attention to. The prime lenses which were introduced included the 28mm f2.8, which I talked about that in a prior video. It was the inspiration for Nikon's legendary AIS 28-28, and the story behind that is kind of amusing. Check out that video. They also introduced a 35mm f2.5. The legendary, obviously, 50mm f1.8 pancake lens. This lens, the 100-2.8, and a 135mm f2.8. So all of these lenses were mostly plastic as opposed to metal. There was much more plastic used in the construction of the Series E lenses than in the Nikkor lenses. Also, the rumor is that the coatings aren't quite as good in the Series E line. I mean, they are multi-coated. They don't flare terribly, but the general consensus is that the coatings on the Series E lenses are different and probably not, not quite up to par with the Nikkors. Stylistically, there was a change in the Series E line. You can see when they were introduced, this is an early version, so when they were introduced, the Series E lenses had sort of this blocky kind of look to it. It wasn't particularly graceful, didn't go over very well, and the Nikon Series E line was just panned in general. Nikon enthusiasts were just incensed that Nikon would dare step into the consumer market. The literature of the period just really comes down hard on Nikon. It was the true Nikon enthusiasts, the purists of the era, just thought that Nikon had no business making plasticky lenses and an SLR camera that didn't even have manual control, and they were just panned across the board. So in 1981. Nikon made a stylistic change in the Series E line and added a chrome strip to most of the lenses, so to make them look more like Nikkors, basically. So so for example, here's the 85 f2, and you notice the chrome strip right here, characteristic of AI and AIS series Nikkors. So what they did on the Series E, at least on this one, right here where you see, let me see if I can get it, where you see this line of ridges here on the focusing ring. These are the ridges that are on the focusing ring, as opposed to the aperture ring. No, excuse me. These are on the collar, or on the part of the lens that doesn't move. So, well, relative to what, right? But it's not. It's between the focusing ring and the aperture ring. So it is right. Yeah, this row of ridges here was replaced by a chrome strip. And I doubt if it was real chrome. I don't own one of those, but in all likelihood it was just spray painted plastic. But at any rate, that was in response to widespread criticism of the Series E line. They were just considered to be ugly and inferior. However, despite that, 2 of the 5 prime lenses did manage to break out of the stigma attached to the Series E budget line and gain reputations, that is contemporaneously at the time, for outstanding sharpness. And this is one. The 100mm f2.8 and the pancake lens, the 50mm f1.8, are the 2 standouts of the Series E line. Those are the 2 Series E lenses which are worth looking for and which are worth collecting. Optically, I mean, maybe historically you may want to have a full set, but optically. The 100-2.8 and the 50 millimeter f1.8 are the two worth having. So this lens earned a reputation for superior sharpness, and so it is of all the Series E lenses, it's certainly one worth having. The plastic construction was assailed by critics mercilessly at the time, and these lenses are much lighter than the Nikons, but over the years, to my knowledge, there have not been massive failures of Series E lenses. They're reasonably well built. They're not as well built as the Nikons, but it's not like they're falling apart. It's they're as well built as probably today's plastic lenses, and if not better. So they seem to have held up fairly well. But if we take a look at the size and weight advantage, it is significant. For example, here is the 105-2.5, which would be the 100-2.8's closest competitor in the Nikon line, and you can see that the 105-2.5 just dwarfs the 100-2.8. I mean, it's not even close. It is so much larger and heavier than the 100 millimeter f2.8. Similarly, if we take a look at the 85 millimeter f2, the 85 f2 is famous as one of Nikon's most compact portrait lenses. I mean, it may be Nikon's most compact portrait lens, and one of my favorites. I absolutely love this lens, but it's roughly the same size as the Series E 100-2.8, but the 85 f2 is much heavier. The 85 f2, I looked it up just a minute ago, I think it's 310 or 315 grams for this lens, as opposed to 225 grams for this one. So there is a considerable weight difference, and you can feel it. I mean, you can feel the heft, and this is a nice substantial package of glass and steel right here, or brass steel, I don't know, one or the other. Whereas this is obviously much more plasticky. And hold on a second, you know what? I was just wondering, how many aperture blades do these things have? I didn't even count before I did this video. I should have done that, huh? I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 aperture blades in this lens. So that's nice. So it does have 7 aperture blades, just like contemporary Nikons. So I was curious about the sharpness on this lens. First of all, I have used this lens rather extensively. I've done some landscapes, some general street touristy shots in Nazareth. I did a couple of portrait shoots, and so you can see that on my Flickr account. I will put a link down below. All of my Flickr account is organized in not libraries, what do they call it? Albums. In albums by lens. So I will put a link to my Series E 100 millimeter album down below, so you can check out the images I took with this lens, and judge for yourself. So in preparation for this video, I was curious about the sharpness of the Series E, and I wasn't sure what to compare it to. But fortunately, I have the Angry Photographer lens. I've done a separate video on this lens as well, and it's well. You can go ahead and see that video if you're really curious. But amongst Nikon enthusiasts, particularly those of us who used to follow Ken Wheeler's Angry Photographer videos, this lens has occupies some place of significance, and it is an excellent lens. But I shot it side by side with the Series E. Nothing special. I'm not going to post those images to Flickr. It's just we're on lockdown where I'm at right now, and so I can't really go anywhere interesting. So I just took some shots out the window, of the rooftops in my neighborhood. But comparing those shots, I took a series of images between f2.8 and f8, and I got some surprising results. By f8, the Tokina is sharper, slightly sharper. It's not in your face. Incredibly obviously sharper, but slightly sharper by f8. But at wider apertures, particularly f2.8 and f4, the Series E is clearly and hands down the winner. I mean, it's not even close. This lens, the Series E, is sharper than the Tokina at f2.8 and f4 and possibly 5.6. Again, not even close. Now, having said that, These were all images shot at infinity focus. So might I get a different result if I were doing a portrait shoot? Yeah, possibly. But at infinity, I can definitively report that the Series E is noticeably sharper at f2.8 and f4, and I think 5.6 as well. 5.6 is starting to even up, and by f8, the Tokina does appear to have the advantage. Certainly in the corners. It's certainly, but by 5.6 and f8, the Tokina is certainly sharper in the corners. But open it up wide open, wide open at 2.8 and f4, the Series E is better all around. I mean, and noticeably so. So that suggests to me that the Series E is really a nice alternative for a portrait lens. And I have done some portraiture work with it, and I am very happy with it. I'm very pleased with the quality of the bokeh. And you can see some of those shots on my Flickr image, on my Flickr site, on my Flickr page, whatever, album. I think the bokeh is just fine. I think it competes honorably with the 105-25, and in terms of sharpness, it's sharpness wide open. No complaints, absolutely no complaints. Prices on the Series E 100 2.8 have been going up and down in relation to the 105-25. So I mean, these two are kind of they're your closest competitors between the two lines. And in the secondhand market in recent years, I've seen them fluctuate. Right now, it appears to me that the Series E is once again a good bargain buy on at least most the retail sites that I follow. It appears to me that the Series E is not as popular as the 105-25. I think the 105-25 has gone up in popularity over the past couple of years, whereas the Series E seems to have hadn't budged much. So right now, I think the Series E is a good bargain. But even if they were the same price, even if these two lenses were the exact same price, you could still make the case for the Series E over the Nikon, simply based on size and weight. I mean, this thing is like half the size and weight of this one. It's really, I mean, the Series E this is the portrait lens you can just toss in your bag just in case, because it's so small and so light, it's not going to take up space and it's not going to weigh you down. Whereas, this is a nice hefty chunk of metal right here. So one of these days I'll do some nice, portrait comparison shots with the 105-25 and maybe the Tokina as well. But for the time being, I can highly and heartily recommend the Series E 100mm f2.8. This is a nice addition to your Nikon collection. And if you're looking for something that's incredibly small and incredibly light and incredibly sharp wide open with nice bokeh, here it is. This is the portrait lens you can just toss in the bag just in case. And it's worth picking up. In the US market, I think you can get these in fairly decent shape for not too much over $100. But I don't know. Again, prices have been going up and down on these things, at least in relation to the 105-25. But there is a good reason to pick one up. I've been very happy with mine, and I think you might want to consider it. Okay, so those are my thoughts on the Series E, specifically 100mm f2.8 lens. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. I hope it was worthwhile for some reason. I am backing up my videos to the Odysee library network. It's an alt tech platform that is gaining in popularity, and I just want to have some place to back up my videos in case YouTube decides it wants to turn into Netflix and get rid of all the small hobby creators like me. I'm not sure what direction they're going in, but anyway, I'm backing up my videos over there. And if you can, I'll put a link down below in the description, and if you'd like to, you can check out that platform where all the videos are ad-free, at least for the time being. Again, it's a moving target, but for the time being, the backup videos can be seen ad-free, and sometimes they're a little glitchy, but it's a new platform. But at any rate, it's out there, and if the ads really bug you, then you can try that. All right, well, thank you, and please do check out the links below, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.